Back for the big 1-0 here in Columbus. Now, before we begin, if you are new to this channel, then hit those like and subscribe buttons, along with that bell icon, to officially join the Columbus crew. Winter has now arrived here in central Ohio, and well, like you said in the previous episodes, a majority of the animals are now inside, mostly the tropical animals, to say the least. I mean, hey, at least I still got to see a bunch of animals, especially with my recent shorts, as well as the recent episodes I've done. And speaking of which, I cannot believe we're finally at episode 10 for my Columbus tours. But still, there's still more to come for the channel. Anyways, back on track. Today we're finishing up on, one biome we have not covered for the channel. We explored the forests and mountains of Asia, the savanna and jungles of Africa, the Australian outback, deserts, swamps, and the coastlines. But there is still one biome we need to feature. Anyway, the last time I was here in Columbus, we went into the Australian Islands Roadhouse, which we got to see a vast majority of birds, as well as a couple rare nocturnal mammals, and also birds and reptiles that, was definitely worth seeing. But unlike the last episode, a couple of reasons. One, there is not going to be a whole lot of animals. And second, for the first time for a while, we are back outside for the tours. But anyway, the last biome that we need to feature here on the channel, we are going to the high Arctic at the Columbus Zoo's Polar Frontier. This has to be one of the smallest regions here at the zoo because, it probably sits maybe 4 or 5 acres out of the zoo's 580. But anyway, Polar Frontier opened in May of 2010. So, the third newest region here at the zoo in the last 15 years. But anyway, like I said, Polar Frontier is only home to 3 animals that mostly lives in northern Alaska as well as North Canada. But small things doesn't mean anything for this region because, even though this has to be one of the smallest regions here at the zoo, there are still some really big surprises in here, especially, one, the world's largest land predator, cute and cuddly, and also very fluffy small dogs, and, a few rescues here in Columbus, which were named from, obviously, the famous Buckeyes. Which, you will see why I mentioned the Buckeyes here in a little bit, and trust me, it's worth it. And might as well film it because, with everything almost inside, the animals here in Polar Frontier are mostly out all year round. And, there was one very big unexpected surprise at the end of the video. Something I wasn't expecting to see in because they'll be sleeping. But, without further ado, let our Arctic adventure here at the Polar Frontier begin. Polar Frontier is located near the North American region because, literally right after the reindeer paddock, we are in the icy cold north. And yes, Polar Frontier is somewhat connected to the North American region, but really this is more focusing on the far north side of things, like Alaska and northern Canada. And during the wild lights, this is usually a very popular area because this is where Santa is at. But anyway, one reason why I like this area is the Polar Grill, which they sell wings, and trust me, it is delicious. While I was heading to, the main reason why we're here, my friend Josh here on the right, he was kind of filming Polar Frontier as well. But I don't mind him just jumping out of nowhere because, he's a really cool dude and he was filming Polar Frontier as well. So I really don't mind. Good work, buddy. But anyway, now we're at the main event. The reason why Polar Frontier got its name. And arguably, like the tiger exhibit, this has been one of the greatest of its kind in the world. Because it fits perfectly what you wouldn't see if you go to Churchill, Canada. A rocky coast with a small field in the back. And obviously, a bunch of water. Since, in the Arctic, we are near the sea. But anyway, you probably want to know what lives in this massive but beautiful exhibit. This is the realm for the polar bear. Which, this one managed to come up here right on time. And believe me, I was beyond excited to see this girl swimming. Now, you may be wondering, is there underwater viewing to see the polar bear swimming? Well, here's your answer. We do, in fact, have an underwater viewing. But first, let's go ahead and head down there. After one last look at the polar bear exhibit on this side, well, we are finally going to go underground to see where this girl is heading. Now, while you're heading down to the underwater viewing, continuing down this path, and well, in a minute, if you look on the left while you're trying to go down, you notice these pictures of before and after shots of glaciers around the world, mostly in Alaska, Canada, and even in Peru. It is shocking to see how much has changed in the last century. And well, this is also very bad because, well, with the ice sheets melting, this is really bad because with the water levels rising, it's making it a little more difficult for animals like polar bears to hunt. Even though we didn't really see much good view of the animals yet, I hope you're impacted by that. And well, that's one reason why you should help animals like the polar bear. But anyway, continuing down the path, one of my favorites to underwater viewing is that this tunnel is disguised as an abandoned mine, which is one good reason why the Columbus Zoo is really good with its theming. Okay, now, past the sliding doors is the main reason why we're down here. We finally made it to the underwater viewing area, which, well, on a hot summer day, well, this is mostly the reason why people usually come down here. But, like back on top, the other reason is to see the polar bears swimming, like this one. And, well, like I said, when we're back on top, I was also beyond excited. Because, well, even though I did see polar bears swimming underwater, I never got to film it before. Because, well, not as good as this, I should say. The last time I actually seen a polar bear swimming and recording was back in December of 2020. With, well, one bear that, well, I'll mention in a bit. Anyway, when I saw this girl swimming, I literally did not want to leave. Because, well, I was pretty much down here probably for 30 minutes. Because, well, obviously to see some cool acrobatics, as well as try to get some good filming, like I did right now. Also, while you're down here, you can also see the signage of this few fishies that we have in here, which is mostly rainbow trout. You can also find out like how thick the glass is between you and the underwater viewing of the polar bears. And believe me, it is very thick. And well, another cool reason is, well, not just getting up close to the polar bears. If you look right on the left at the end of this glass viewing area, and well, near the sliding doors and the steps, but you really don't want to leave, there's actually a little TV right here where you can see what the bears are doing up in the surface, like I saw right now. But we should be moving on, but don't worry, polar bears are not done just yet. Past the sliding doors again is steps. So we gotta climb all the way up. But anyway, now we're back in above water viewing. Well, we're going to go to one of two bear shelters. This is mostly where everyone likes to be at the most. Because, well, if you look to the right, which is where we're at right now, this is actually one side viewing of the polar bear enclosure. But anyway, it's time to meet our girls. Meet 15-year-old polar bears, Aurora and Anana. They arrived here for Polar Frontiers opening. These two are sisters, and they've been here together for a very long time. Now, unlike a lot of zoos which they rescue and display the polar bear, these two, well, they were brought here to breed and be on display for the species survival plan. But anyways, 5 balls of fluff have been born here in the last 7 years, including Kulu, which he was born here on Thanksgiving of 2019. Which he's recently just turned 2 and moved to the Como Park Zoo and Conservatory in Minnesota. And also born here in 2015 is the famous Nora. And also 2016, we welcomed 3 of them, Amelia Gray, Neva, and Nunik, which all 3 of them were moved to different places. And that is all the polar bears. Now, while we're heading to the next class viewing, you can see, well, murals of every species of bear. And we can see how tall you are in comparison to them. And now we're at the second class viewing in this shelter. And well, like as usual in the winter, they were not at this viewing. But that's okay. We can just see them down the path. Now that we're outside away from the shelter, we're kind of making at least maybe 1 to 1.5 stops. But anyway, We're going to start with this garden shed over here, or almost like it. But anyway, this is home to the Arctic fox. They're one of the smallest canines here at the zoo, and well, one of the fluffiest. And well, if you come here in the summer, their fur is mostly grayish brown. And well, as you can see right now, in the winter, they have fluffy white winter coats, which keeps them warm with very low temperatures, like as much as -50. This is usually one of everyone's favorite animals here in Port Frontier, because well, like you see, they could kind of grab our attention, and well, these guys like to run around almost everywhere, like literally. Currently, right now here at the zoo, we have at least 3 Arctic foxes in this small exhibit. And well, I know in this video clip you can probably see 4, but I don't know what happened to one of them a few years ago. Anyway, the day I was filming, they were, well, sleeping and just cuddling around. And honestly, I don't blame them. Because, well, right now in Central Ohio, it is mostly in the lower 20s. So, I don't blame them at all. Anyway, as you look at the Arctic fox enclosure, turn around and you get a view of that one exhibit that we saw earlier. But again, no one at this view. But luckily, there's still one more stop to see this species in that large exhibit. But anyway, let's follow my friend Josh to see a better look at the Arctic fox enclosure at this side. And as you can see, all 3 foxes, well, like I said, were just sleeping, which honestly, that's very cute. Okay, now to one of our last stops, which on top of this, there's signs that says danger, bears ahead, which again, this is another bear enclosure. And well, like the polar bear enclosure, almost, this does have an above and underwater viewing for a similar animal. But unlike the polar bear, this one has a different fur color. But anyway, meet the Alaskan brown bears. As of 2022, the zoo is currently home to 2 adult male brown bears. Meet the famous Brutus and Buckeye, which, well, they were rescued in Alaska in 2004 and brought here to Ohio. And they were named, well, for those of you who are Ohio State fans, they were named from the mascot, Brutus the Buckeye, which honestly, those are very good names for the brothers. Anyway, the brothers used to live in the North America region, and well, an exhibit that I'll mention in the next episode. It is estimated they're probably around 17 to 18 years old, which, well, that's a medium life expectancy for the bears. But since they're in captivity, they'll probably live a little longer. But anyway, if you come here during the winter, you'll see them mostly sleeping because they're in hibernation. But unexpectedly, me and my friend Josh saw one of the brothers up and active inside the cave. I don't know if this is either Brutus or Buckeye, but hey, it's hard to tell. Well, anyway, what he was doing was he was just looking around the cave to see anything has changed. And well, right out of the bloom, he managed to jump up or rise up and, well, even drew our attention a little more. And he may have given us a really big yawn. Like, he was probably just in his hibernation and he just needed to wake up for a little minute. Which, honestly, I don't blame him. Though the glare wasn't as good for the shot, but hey, it still worked out perfectly. But anyway, unlike the polar bear, which they are primarily carnivores, brown bears like these 2 are omnivores, meaning they both eat plants and animals. But they mostly eat berries and salmon, which, like you see when bears in Alaska. Anyways, if you do come to the Columbus Zoo during the winter season, well, unlike my situation was on this video, but anyway, if you do come here in other times and trying to find the brothers, they'll be mostly sleeping because, well, like I just said, they're probably going to be in their hibernation. And that will be our end to our cold adventure at Port Frontier. The Polar Frontier, even though it's one of the smallest regions at the zoo, but small size doesn't mean anything for this region, especially seeing 2 big species of bears and 1 cute and cuddly small dog. And obviously a very popular attraction because, well, like some of the areas here at the zoo, Port Frontier is opened all year round, especially seeing a lot of cool stuff, like a bear that, well, pretty much sniffed on the glass, a swimming polar bear, and a very playful and, well, Again, sleeping Arctic fox. The next time we'll be here at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, well, we're literally just going to be doing a few steps away from Polar Frontier. And this will be our last video or region to cover here at the zoo. Unless I do the live streams and other stuff. But anyways, stay tuned, like and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.